Okay, so today we are going to go through leadership and team building. So this is BLOCK-3 Unit 1. So like any other topic, it starts with definition and then it goes to classification and then it goes into the rest of the aspects like theories or characteristics and those kind of things. Right. So I think that starting from definition, right? What is leadership? So in general, most of us know we don't really have to, understand leadership in a different way. But to put in the words, it is an art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. So basically, it is motivating people to act and achieve a common goal. That is exactly what the leadership. Leadership is a process of control in which, by assumption of superiority of a person or a group, regulates the activities of others for the purpose of his own choosing. Basically, this is definition by one of the guide fighters. Like that, there are many other definitions, but I think this is the easiest definition. It is an art of motivating group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. So what are the characteristics of leadership? Right. So it's a it's a total idea. So leader is so basically um, he is the main or idol for all his followers. Okay, and he is actually respected by the rest of the followers. He influences those particular followers, right? And he actually commands them. He controls the other members of the group. So basically he has got control over the group, right? And he also determines how group should actually conduct. He is very well respected and revered person. So that is what is the characteristics of a leader within a group, right? So now going into the classification of leadership. Leadership, again, like any other topic, there are various ways to classify it. Okay, so one type of classification is classification based on origin, right? So basically you can classify based on origin. So from where leader came, based on that. You can classify based on the purpose. What exactly is the purpose of this particular leader? Based on that you can classify. Okay, so to start with, classification based on the origin. So from where exactly leader came. Executive appointed leadership. So basically what it means is, it's like there is a chairman of a company. He is the one who is going to appoint a CEO, for example, right? So basically leader is appointed by an executive which is who is authorized to appoint the leader, right? So basically he is appointed by an executive. That is what is executive appointed leadership. Okay, so generally it happens in government offices where the officers are appointed by certain individual, maybe minister or whoever it is. You will actually appoint the officer or a leader who could actually, drive the rest of the group. Next class or type is leadership appointed by group. So there are group of individuals who actually select the leader. So typical example is the way judges are selected. I think there is a group who actually go and select the Supreme Court judge or something like that, right? So it's like you vote. It could be even from the democratic process where there are set of people who would vote and then make a leader. Even our politics work in a similar way where all the elected people are supposed to actually vote and select a chief minister or prime minister kind of a thing, right? So that is what is appointed by the group. The last is self-appointed leader. So nobody designated him as a leader. Rather, he or she accumulated that authority over the time because of the skill that they have or because of various qualities that probably leader should have. So it is like he is a self-appointed leader. So it is neither an executive or a group which was actually appointing him as a leader, but over the time, group dynamics made that particular leader as a leader. It's basically because of various characteristics that person might really have. So this is self-appointed leader. So these are the types of leadership based on origin. So now comes leadership based on purpose. What exactly is the purpose of the leader? Based on that, there is a division, right? So intellectual leader, as the name suggests, so this is generally applicable to an intellectual field where you have a science, like head of a science department, or something like that, right? So basically, there is a field which is led by a leader, right? Uh, so they are like generally a great thinkers. They have vision. They are very very proficient in that particular field or whatever that they are actually taking care of. So they do have that particular visionary quality. So they are generally transformational leaders. They can actually inspire people to generate ideas in that particular respective field. So this is like intellectual leadership. The second is artistic leadership. Same applied, but this is coming to the artist area. So basically, he's supposed to be a great artist, and he is leading the set of artists from art point of view. The other type of leadership is executive leadership. Basically, it is generally this is what the organizations would have. So this is the leader who is executing certain goals or tasks or whatever it is. So he does have an authority as a person, and he actually drives the group towards that particular common goal. So this is an executive leadership. So most of the organizational leadership really falls under this executive leadership. So there is some amount of intellectual leadership as well within the organization. But yes, the CEO and other things that we are talking about is the executive leadership. So now comes to the third division, where leadership based on the nature. So the way the leader behaves, or rather the way he drives, based on that, these are the various types of leaders. Okay. So we completed types based on the origin. We completed types based on the purpose. What is the purpose of that leader? Now we are going into the leadership type based on the nature of the leader. So it is the leader's nature which is driving this division. One is authoritarian leadership or product centered leadership. So here we are talking about more like a dictator who does exert the authority and get things done from his subordinates. He doesn't care about people. He is more goal oriented. Hence this name is coming as product centric leadership. This is not people centric, it is product centric. So he is driving towards the goal. That's all. The goal is the only thing that is there in his picture. So he exercises close supervision. So he doesn't really believe anyone. He makes most of the decisions by himself. Okay, emphasizes on production. Basically, he is towards the goal. Permits little or no initiative to subordinates. He doesn't care about subordinates. He gives clear instructions. He doesn't listen. He gives clear instructions, and subordinates are not something who are like allowed to give any suggestions to him. The authority, he is more authority oriented. So this is what is the authoritarian leadership, who is more like a dictatorship. So this type of leadership commonly occurs in something like a military setup, where you are just listening to whoever is leading your team. So you are not supposed to question back, right? So even though this leadership really appears um, very bad in nature, but one point that uh, to be remembered is every leadership style has got a significance depending on the situation. These leadership styles could be useful. For example, as I said, in the military setup, authoritarian leadership is what it works. So you can't really have a noting system when you are on a battlefield. You just have to listen. That's all. And you should not even allow subordinates to apply logic. When logic comes, I don't think they will go and face the bullet, right? So it just dies down. So that is why authoritative leadership is like, yes, it's something that is significant in certain cases. It's not always bad, right? So Democratic leadership. So democratic leadership is, as the name suggests, he is the one who takes the advice from everyone, collects all the advice, and then he would expect all of them to cooperate with him, and then takes the decision. So normally he delegates the authority, he or she delegates the authority and responsibility, manages objectives. So it's not that he's leaving everything to the subordinates. He still manages the objectives, okay, and permits initiative and responsibility. So he's okay if somebody is taking the initiative and responsibility, he is okay to delegate it. Encourages the employees' suggestions, participative decision making, emphasizes production as well as employee satisfaction. There is production and also employee satisfaction, both coming hand in hand in the democratic leadership. Institutional leadership. So in this institutional leadership, it is more about somebody nominated him as a leader. So leadership is more being driven based on the authority, and this authority came from something somebody officiated, right? So some head of the company nominated his son as the leader for that particular organization. Now his son would actually operate that company with the authority that he has got from the above, right? So basically he became leader because somebody has selected him. Okay. So he's most often is an officiating head. He might not really have that leadership qualities, but it is all driven by the authority that he has got, right? So next is dominant leader. Okay. So this leadership is more about, so he is basically, this is not an authority which is in demanding like the authoritarian leadership. In authoritarian leadership, it is almost like a dictatorship. In the dominant leader, this authority is something that a leader earns over the time, and he rules people based on the authority that he has earned. Still, the authority and power are the foremost aspects, but it is not like the authoritarian where you are actually ruling it based on the force. Rather, it is an authoritarian approach, which is authoritarian or dominance, which he has actually gained based on the relationship that he has got with the subordinates. So over the time, everybody started respecting, and there is an authority which came from this particular leader, and he rules based on that particular authority, right? Next is expert leader. Expert leader is not actually a true leader, he is rather an expert. So it is kind of, he became a leader because of his expertise. So he has got an expertise on certain things, and that is the reason why he became a leader in that particular field, right? So basically you can say that this is not like general other leadership as such, but his here his views are respected because he is a leader, he is an expert in that particular field, and he does have a special ability in that particular field, and followers, subordinates, everybody listens to him. Next is persuasive leader. So this is the leader which is the true leader, is what you can probably say. This is the most idealistic leader, where he wins the leadership by winning the hearts of the followers. So there is an emotional and what do you say, as a respect from these followers to this particular leader, and it is earned by this particular leader over the time, and it is like very close to the people, yet people listen to him, and he exhibits all the leadership styles, with all the leadership qualities which an ideal leader really require. Okay, so if you see, there is slight amount of overlap between dominant leader and persuasive leader.
Praveen?
Dominant leader is also the authority, and it is the acquired authority and dominance, but it is still the authority which is coming into picture. In case of persuasive leader, people work out of their particular what do you say, as a close association, or rather having an emotional touch with that particular leader, right? So he will influence the followers and can induce the mindset and behavior to their employees, so people listen automatically to him.
Praveen, 1 second. Do we have big questions like 10 mark or 6 mark questions out of this?
Okay, I'll tell you the questions here. The way that it is asked is one, the characteristics of the leadership. So
Okay.
whatever the leadership characteristics that we have learned, this is one question that could come.
Okay.
Okay, various approaches of the leadership.
Oh, that is
So
the one you're
whatever,
talking currently, right?
what, yes, yes.
5 minutes.
So,
Okay.
what we are actually learning is the types of leadership.
Types.
Okay. So there
Okay.
is an approaches also that is going to come down.
Okay.
So this is a different thing. Okay. So these above one that you are actually seeing are falling under the approaches.
Oh,
Types of leadership, nobody asked actually. Until now, there is no question that was asked on types of leadership.
okay.
Okay,
So
only
what
question that came on type of leadership is this transformational leadership. There was a question on what is transformational leadership, which we are going to cover down.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm.
and license fiery. So this is a leadership which is like, um, I mean, a leader who is like very much willing to give full confidence to the employees. So he doesn't really micromanage. He rather gives all the trust. He will keep the trust on his subordinates and let subordinates do things in their own way. Okay, that is what is license fiery of leadership. Okay, um, he neither emphasizes production nor employee satisfaction. It is directionless sometimes. So employees do whatever they want to rather. So there is not much of a micromanagement and other things that really happen. So sometimes it feels it is directionless. Okay, so now coming to the transformational leadership, this is one question which was asked. Okay, so it is actually a leader who does have vision in his brain. So he is the one who can actually show people what is the future and how exactly that future is going to help them and what they need to actually do to actually go towards future, and then influence their particular behavior and the way that they do tasks and all those stuff, and then go towards that particular mission. So this is like the one with a full visionary leadership, right? So um, he inspires new ways of thinking, stimulates learning experiences, so transmits a sense of mission, and these leaders are called as super leaders. Okay, leaders with that particular visionary leaders, right? So that is what transformational leadership. Okay, so net to net, let me just briefly summarize what we went through. We went through the definition of leadership and classification of leadership. In classification, we went through by origin and purpose and the nature of leadership. Okay, in nature of leadership, authoritarian leadership, democratic leadership, institutional leadership, dominant leadership, expert leader, persuasive leader, lies fiery leader, transformational leader. Kind of question that might come here is kind of a 3 marks question, which might actually they might ask what is institutional leadership. You should be able to explain that, or what is persuasive leadership. But the technique to actually remember is on the word of this particular leadership style itself. For example, authoritarian leadership, the name itself says that somebody is exerting the authority. So you can write whatever that you actually feel like a leader who is like very authoritative. Democratic leader, by the name itself, you are saying that he's going to actually go by that voting system, collects all the things, and then take the decision. Institutional leader, some institute is appointing the leader here. Dominant leader, authoritarian, but he is like dominant in that particular group. He is just emerged as a dominant guy, right? Expert leader, by the name you can actually say. Persuasive leader, so the name persuasive, you can actually judge what exactly it is. Lies fairy, so this is like a fairy who is very goody to everybody, but it is directionless. Transformational leadership, this is about visionary leadership, right? So by the names of it, you should be able to judge what exactly is the content that you could write on this. Most probably, if it is asked, it would be 3 marks question that would be asked. As of now, I think it is only transformational leadership that was asked. Okay, so now comes to the factors of leadership. Okay, so yes, the factors. What are the things which are there in the leadership? Right. When I am talking about leadership, we are talking about leader himself, the type, the way that he drives the team, or the qualities does he have. So leader himself is one of the factor when it comes to leadership. Followers. Followers is another factor. Without followers, there is no leadership. So followers are very, very important factor as far as the leadership is concerned. Followers are the subordinates or whoever this particular leader is driving. Next is communication. How this leader is communicating to these particular followers. Right? That forms another factor. Situation. Under what situation this entire team is working. That really drives a lot of things. Right? And in fact, the situation is the one which is going to bring the best out of the leader. So it is the situation which provides the opportunity for a leader to actually become a leader in a way, right? So and so there are actually various leadership theories that really come. It will come down where the situation is really elevated uh, on telling how the situation is going to really act. We are going to actually read those particular theories down. So I'm not going to explain them here. But anyways, the point that you need to actually remember here is these are the four factors which are very, very important as far as leadership is concerned. Leader himself, followers, communication between leader and follower, and the situation in which this particular leader is actually acting on. Right. So, so now coming characteristic of a leadership. Okay. So, so this is what is one of the question that came here, the 6 marks question. What are the various characteristics of a leadership? Okay, so so what exactly a leader should have? Leader should have interpersonal skills. So obviously, you should be able to know people better, right? Without the relationship, you will not be able to control things. He should have good communication skills. He should be able to communicate clearly what exactly he is thinking. He should be able to understand, listen to the others so that he understands what others are thinking, etc., etc. So the overall communication skills is something which is very, very required. He should have values. He should value the diversity of the workflows, and he should actually respect his followers, his or her followers, right? And he should not display any favoritism or anything like that. Organizational consciousness. So beyond the personal aspects, you should have that particular knowledge of the organization. You should actually take towards the organizational goal, not exactly carried over because of this interpersonal skills or the communication skills or etc. etc. You should keep organization in picture at always. So you should have that particular organizational consciousness or knowledge, right? And you should have confidence. So without confidence, I don't think rest of the aspects would actually flow. One of the very, very important aspect, right? You should have a calm demeanor even during emergencies. Even if there is a hell that breaks out, leader should be calm and he should be able to very much think even during that emergency and then take the team forward, right? He should be accurately aware of his shortcomings. So having confidence is one thing, right? I mean, he should not be overconfident. He should know what exactly he doesn't know, right? He should listen to others and really improve on those particular things, right? So basically, he should take the ownership even during popular and unpopular decisions. So it's not just about owning in popular decision. You should also own those unpopular decisions. Flexibility. So flexibility is self-explanatory. So you should be flexible enough to demand the change. So things change quite rapidly. You should be flexible to actually do that, right? So some of the leaders utterly failed when they didn't actually display this particular flexibility. The example is Nokia. Nokia never adapted the newer technologies as far as the phones are concerned. Leadership stuck to the style of way that they thought about. and maybe that really resulted into the failure, right? So flexibility is one of the important aspects as far as the leader is concerned. Creative skills. So he should be able to think out of the box. Even the routine aspects, whatever the others really feel, he should be able to actually, develop more comprehensive answers and develop solutions which others really, can't really think on those particular routine things. He should be able to explain things in a very easy way, uh, uh, to the complex problems. He should be able to actually, concise, make it lot of information. You should be able to, make it very very easy, and then should be able to explain. So even that is part of the creative skills. Achieving results. So obviously, he is the one who should be towards achieving the result. So he should actually make sure that he plays. It's just not about delivering the speeches. It is also about participating along with the employees and making sure that he is part and parcel towards the goal, right? So, and if there are any issues that the team faces, he should actually get into it and then solve those particular things um, for their particular group, right? So he should actually achieve results. So now that is about the characteristics of a leader. Okay. So this is one of the questions that was asked: interpersonal skills, communication, values, consciousness. I think all these points are very very simple to understand. It is just about remembering these headings. If you remember these headings, I think points inside would automatically flow. Okay, that is the trick for this particular question. Now coming to the tasks of the leadership. Okay, so what exactly a leader should do? You should recognize people who is actually going to make a difference. You should understand the group dynamics. Okay, you should create an environment so that people can actually work and towards the goal. You should inspire people. You should I mean, if there are any things that are changing, you should be able to understand the change, and then he should be able to make that particular change occur. Okay, so just a moment, 1 minute. Yeah, I'm back. So these are the various tasks that a leader should actually do. Okay, so now what we completed the definition of the leadership. Okay, and then we went through the classification, various types of classes of the leader. And then now we are actually going into the factors of, now we completed factors of the leader, and then we completed characteristic of leadership, right? So that is where we are. So now we also completed the tasks that a leader can do. So now we are going through the leadership theories and approaches of the leadership. Okay. So from questions point of view, there are actually questions around certain approaches, for example, managerial grid approach and other stuff. So this is again, the questions might come in terms of what is, the question could be like, what is managerial grid approach? What is path goal approach? What is authoritarian approach? So they can give the name of the approach, and they might actually ask you to actually describe that. Okay. So I'll come to these leadership theories later, because these leadership theories are not included in our syllabus. So it's only good to know, hence I included them. So I'll come to that at later point of time. So our book covers the approaches of leadership. Okay, so this is mainly in terms of how, I mean, rather it is management slash leadership, how exactly they approach leadership. So first is traits approach. Okay, so basically what exactly traits? So traits approach is like a leader who identifies the unique qualities and and you should be able to so basically, see the trait, right? Trait can be of various types of traits, right? Intelligence, people skills, decisiveness, creativity, competence, trustworthiness, all these are various traits. So traits approach is more about you identifying the unique qualities, okay, and having effective management of your teams based on these particular qualities. So you actually drive the task based on the traits that people really, people really exhibit, and your leader himself will have various traits in order to actually drive this particular thing, right? So basically, a leader himself should have that creativity, competence, trustworthiness, decisiveness, people skills, and all those stuff, right? And also the approach towards it is mainly based on the traits. Okay, next is authoritarian approach. Again, it is same as whatever the authoritarian leadership that we have actually talked about earlier. So this is mainly production oriented, and leader is least bothered about the people dimension. He is more towards the production of a particular thing. That is what is the authoritarian approach. Okay, next is Likert system approach. Okay, so so Likert actually so there are actually so there are two aspects when it comes to leader, right? In the all above things, what we actually talked about are two aspects. One is the goal, the other is the people. Okay, so based on these two, Likert came about 4 approaches, or rather 4 different 4 different types of leadership. Okay, exploitative authority. So basically, here it is like peak of authoritative leadership. Okay, so here we are talking about a leader who is very, 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 very authoritative. Okay, benevolent authoritative. So here you can imagine that still he is more task oriented, but a little bit of people as well. So basically here he would still dictate the authority, but he would still ask team in terms of, or he will try to actually know what team is thinking. Okay, so he might not really be like a democratic leader where you collect all it and based on the democratic process you actually select. It is still the leader who is deciding it, but he is much better than exploitative, who is not even caring about whatever the subordinates really think on. Consultative, so this is exactly matching to the democratic leadership style that we talked about. Okay, participative is like you make everybody participate in that particular thing, so everybody feels the identity and they are part and parcel of that particular thing, right? So this is the ideal leadership that would actually be talking about. So but when I said participative, this is different from the other lies fairy leadership style that we talked about, which is directionless, right? So we are not talking about that. Participative leader is more about every team member is feeling the ownership and they are part and parcel of that particular achievement of common goal, and both the employee need as well as the organizational performance, both are taken care in this particular case. Right? This is the most ideal thing. So these are the 4 leadership styles which actually Likert system approach really comes up with. Okay, so system 1, system 2, system 3, system 4, and on these particular categories in terms of whatever the people and the goal orientedness. Okay, so next is managerial grid approach. So managerial grid approach, so again two dimensions. One is production, that is the goal, the other is people. So if you actually put this one on x-axis and one on y-axis and form a grid, basically divide this particular x-axis and y-axis into 9 parts. There is around 89 boxes that would actually come, 81 boxes that would come, right? I mean, it is like a 9 into 1 matrix. Okay, so people could actually fit in any of this grid. So now the name managerial grid, you can probably extract the relevance from this. So it is like a grid where in one dimension you have production or the goal, the other dimension is concern for the people. So as you go on the x-axis, your concern for production is very, very high. So if you take this extreme, that is 9.1, right, the one which is here, the leadership style is more towards task management. You don't care about people. Okay, and if you talk about this, where the leader is very, very poor in task and also is poor in the people. So it is like improve our shed management. So basically it requires, I think, improvement in all ways. When you actually go up in the people and poor in the task, which is 1.9, it is country club management. So basically you are more into people rather than the goal. Okay, and when you actually go towards both right, that means 9.9, this is the best or rather the highest as far as this grid is concerned, that is team management. Okay, so that is exactly what these roles are all about. Okay, so this particular grid is all about, right, not role. So this is like 9 into 9, 81 grid that is going to form. And in the middle, you have something like a middle of the road, which is 5.5, which is coming in the middle, right? So this is managerial grid approach. Now comes path goal theory. Again, this is very, very similar to managerial grid, but managerial grid is talking about 81 blocks, small grids, right? But what path goal theory really said is, let's not go towards so complex. We divide this entire thing into 4 parts, right? So one who is very, very, so this is on the people, this is on the task. So so basically the leader who is more towards the goal are achievement oriented leadership. Leaders who are very, very less on the goal, more on the people, supportive leadership. Okay, so instrumental leadership is on, so participative leadership is both balanced. Okay, and instrumental leadership is more on more towards the task, but there is actually a people aspect as well in that particular thing, right? So basically it is the same grid, but it is explained in little bit in an easy way rather than that 81 grid kind of a thing. Okay,
Praveen, can you tell us what is the difference between instrumental and achievement oriented?
see, achievement oriented is only task. There is no people aspect.
Okay. And instrumental?
So if you remember, there is one thing that we have actually read here, right? So instrumental is, task is there. Yes, basically you are enabling team to actually go towards that particular task. So there is a team aspect as well in case of instrumental leadership. You got what I'm saying? So here, task is the main thing. Task is the main thing. You are driving the things towards the task. So here still task is dominant, but there is people as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So now comes to the contingency approach. So contingency approach has got 2 kinds of behavior. One is obviously the task orientedness. Again, It is on the same fundamental explained in a different way. One is the task, the other is the people. Okay. Only aspect which contingency approach really emphasizes is it brings the aspect of situation into picture. So the leader is not same on these two aspects, and this would actually change based on the situation. So the basically, I mean, given in a such a certain situation, these two aspects of a leader would actually change, and that change, or rather that particular components, these two components, how he is faring in that situation really dictates his success. Okay, so it is still these two aspects, but it is situation which is actually dictating how the leader is going to behave. And in that situation, he could have, say for example, there is a situation where you are actually dealing with multiple parties, and I mean dealing, and the parties that you are dealing happen to be your friends, right? So your people aspect is better in that situation. So, but if for a different project, maybe you have to actually deal with a different set of teams which you are not convenient with. Then your success rate in that situation might come down, because the people orientedness during that thing might be less in that situation. Okay, that is what is the contingency approach. The other is continuum approach. Basically, it's like one end of, so you can actually say that in one end you have managerial centered, and the other end you have a subordinate centered. Okay, so basically leader could be at any of this particular spectrum, where it is more managerial driven, that is authoritarian. The other end is more about that laissez-faire approach, where you are more subordinate centered leadership, right? So where it really falls depends on three factors. One, the leader himself. Basically, the leader himself is of a personality of authoritative type, right? Or else subordinates. Basically, subordinates, the way the subordinates are would also dictate where the leader would fall, depending on the subordinates. And the situation, in certain situations he could actually fall here, in certain situation it could fall here, right? So it is like a continuum approach. Okay, so it is like a band. In one end it is manager centered, the other end it is subordinate centered. It can actually fall in at any place in this particular band, and the three things that would dictate where he falls, that is the leader himself, subordinate, and the situation. Okay, so that ends the leadership aspect. Okay, so that ends the leadership aspect. Now we are going into team building. Team building is very, very short as far as this particular unit is concerned. Rather, the main question that comes is, what are the 12 C's of team building? Okay, so everybody knows what exactly is the team and what exactly team building, right? So we don't really have to say on that particular aspect. So what is 12 C's of team building? So these are like 12 fundamentals which are really required to build a team. Clear expectations, right? So first of all, there should be a clear expectation set in terms of, see, we are talking about team building here. Okay, so when I say clear expectations, these clear expectations is the expectations on the outcomes from the team. Team should know what exactly are the expectations that are from the team, why the team is formed, right? They should have context. They should know why exactly they are part of that particular team. They should have commitment, right? They should be willing to actually be part of that particular team. They should have competence. So they should, in the team, they should be able to play some role. They should have that particular skill to play that particular role, right? Charter. So team should actually build their particular mission based on this particular expectation. Team should actually get together and make that particular charter. They should have their own control. So as a team, they should have their particular freedom and control so that they can actually build by themselves. They should have collaboration. So they should know how they need to actually behave in that particular team. They should have some rule book or some understanding to actually say this is what our group dynamics are. Right? Communication. So they should have the clear set of tasks, priorities. They should have that particular feedback mechanism. In case of conflicts, they should be able to resolve by themselves. Okay, and creative innovations. So basically, or at org level, their creative thinking should be respected. Their basically, if there is any changes that this particular team is going to bring, organization should value those particular things, right? Consequences. So they should be able to take responsibility on whatever things that are coming out of it. So they should feel responsible. They should actually, they should be guided by certain groups or rather leadership team, right? So that is coordination. So this is more about they should be coordinated using a leader or a leadership team. Cultural change, right? So basically, they should be able to, enable whatever the culture change that this particular organization really wants. So they should be able to collaborate with others, and they should be able to enable that particular future for the organization. Okay, and now comes to the part of development of a team, how to develop a team. So these are 12 C's, right? Most difficult aspect of this is to remember these C's as such, right? Somehow it mainly comes up to the remembrance power as far as the C's are concerned. But fortunately or unfortunately, this is not something which is frequently asked. I think it is asked twice. Recently in June 2021 as well, this was asked, and in June 2017. But yes, it is all about you remembering what those C's are. So once you remember the name of it, I think you should be able to flow through the what exactly these individual aspects are, right? So now coming to development of team, how team is developed. So you should be able to create the balanced set of roles. You should have roles defined within the team. Okay, develop that communication process awareness within the team, how group dynamics should work. We talked about that particular point here, right? So they should be able to, have that particular, what do you say, that group dynamics. I mean, they should have their own charter. They should have their, control. They should have their particular collaboration, right? So here we are talking about this particular aspect as the collaboration aspect. They should understand the team preferences. They should establish the review mechanism, that is feedback should actually flow. So that is what the communication about one of the C is really talking about. Develop facilitation skills and effective meetings. Confront issues to resolve this particular conflict. Manage stress. Define a team goal. Charter is one of the C that we talked about above. Take decisions based on consensus. So they should have their own control, right? One of the C is control there. Implement shared leadership and create equality of contribution. I mean, everybody should participate within the team, right? So that these are some of the significant points as far as development of team is concerned. So a couple of people talked about this development of team in different way. One is Richard Beckert, who said, set the team goals and priority, allocate the work performed, examine the group in the way that it is working, examine the relationships in which the people are working. So this is how you could actually make sure that the team is building, right? Moorhead and Griffin says, so basically Moorhead and Griffin rather talked about what is the significance of team building rather than how to develop a team, right? What he told is team building really occurs in a very similar manner as any other change process. For example, if you want to build a team, right, the process would be very, very similar. It is like you identify a problem, and then you actually gather the data related to that problem, diagnose it, plan it, etc. I think OD subject is exactly talking about this process itself. So what Moore had told is the same process would be applicable to team building as well. Okay, and only thing which is different is in every aspect of these steps, whatever that the OD steps are, right, the group participation is also going to add to that perspective. That is what Moorhead and Griffin talked about as far as team building is concerned, right? So that's all in this particular unit. I think we completed this unit.